Okay. Hey, y'all. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to the sixth episode of Creator Tea Talk, where we spill the tea on all things regarding the creator economy. I am Jade Powell, and I am your host, currently spilling the tea from Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm from. And for those that don't know me, I am a former social strategist turned content creator and content marketer. So I created Creator Tea Talk as a space for creators and influencers and marketers and brands to have just real and honest conversations about what kind of impacts our work and learn how we can work better together. That said, today's episode is actually about a trend that I have been seeing all over TikTok lately called the de-influencing trend. And if you haven't heard of it, it's essentially a trend in which influencers are telling their followers why they shouldn't buy a specific product or utilize a specific service. And granted, it just really sounds like the influencers are just being honest, which is what you would expect and hope for from influencers. However, the fact that it has kind of become this like big trend has definitely piqued my interest and made me kind of curious as to why. So I'm really excited to have this panel on the mic today. Everyone is either a creator or influencer and or marketer who can really speak to the topic. And being that it is Women's History Month, I of course wanted to have a women-led discussion about de-influencing. So while I have this kettle heating up, panelists, I do want to pass the mic over to you. Please tell the people who you are, where you are, and what you do. And I'm going to start with Dominique.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Dominique Bell. I'm an influencer campaign manager based in Atlanta, Georgia as well. I began working in the influencer marketing industry back in 2019, agency side for my first 3 years. And then I recently transitioned into the affiliate marketing side this past year, working with brands on their affiliate strategy within their influencer campaign. So super excited to jump in today. And I can popcorn it, so I can pass it over to Hannah.
Hi there. Thank you, Dominique. My name is Hannah Rosado. It looks like I am one of the only people who do not work in marketing or influencing or social media. My day job is in childcare legislation, and I just kind of do social media as a habit or as a hobby, excuse me. And yeah, I just kind of started with this de-influencing trend, and it kind of took off a little bit. But that's just a little bit about me, and I'll popcorn to Melissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a former teacher who then turned to influencer marketing and then went to influencer marketing and turned into a content creator. So it's been a little bit of it's been a little bit of everything. I create lifestyle and beauty content on TikTok and Instagram. Started off on Instagram and then moved everything over to TikTok, and now it's a little bit of literally everything. But yeah, super excited to be here. I love Jade. I actually met her in college, so this should be fun. I will popcorn it over to Sabs.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabs. I use she, her pronouns. I am a co founder of a climate justice nonprofit called Intersectional Environmentalist, and I'm also a content creator myself. I have a blog called Sustainable Sabs, so have very much been, I guess, talking about reducing consumption for a long time. So very intrigued by this trend and excited to be chatting a little bit more about it with y'all today. And I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. And I'll popcorn it over to Francesca.
Hi, everybody. My name is Francesca at One Girl, One World across social media platforms. And I have been a content creator for over 10 years. I created a niche covering beauty at the intersection of travel. And having been in the industry this long, I feel like I've seen it all. I also have a background in celebrity PR. So I come with a different perspective than a lot of influencers because I understand, or at least make my best effort to understand both sides of the coin. So I'm really excited to talk about this today.
Perfect. And then we have Emily.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emmy Petit, and I'm based here in Miami, Florida. And I am an influencer marketing account manager, working on the agency side, designing and managing campaigns. And I'm also an influencer that influences in the fashion, lifestyle, and beauty space. And I've been in the social media and influencer space probably for the last 7 years, either on the professional side or as a creator myself. And similar to Francesca, this conversation is definitely super intriguing to me, and definitely have some perspectives that I would love to share.
Okay, beautiful. Thank y'all so much. Let's go ahead and jump right in this tea. We don't have to delay anything. So earlier, I kind of defined de-influencing as a trend in which influencers tell their followers why they shouldn't buy a specific product or utilize a specific service. I do feel like there may be a little bit more nuance. So, do any of the panelists, maybe one or two of you, kind of want to add any more context or understanding of de-influencing for our audience?
I guess I just want to note that this trend seems to have come about after the whole Michaela Noriega scandal of just kind of a campaign that went left because of dishonesty. So not sure if that was something that we were going to touch on, but I think it's kind of good to know like where this kind of came from.
I mean, I
I,
actually don't have context around that, so sorry, Mel. I don't know if you want to elaborate, or Mel, if you have anything to share about that.
So, yes, I agree. Just piggyback off of what she just said. I think that's a big part of it. And I also think that coincidentally, this whole Michaela drama happened right after December. And I noticed that a lot of brands in general, just being on the influencer side, they were saying that a lot of people were complaining about ad fatigue. And so I do feel like there's a long timeline where like people have been getting kind of tired of seeing so many ads on TikTok and on Instagram. And I've even had brands push campaigns from December to January because they wanted to not blend in with the other ads that were going live during the holiday season. And so I can already sense like this idea of like people are really tired. They're tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. And then the whole Michaela thing happens and it's like the cherry on top. We're like, okay, we're done. We're tired of influencers. And so that's why I think this conversation is super interesting.
And just for
yeah.
my own knowledge, oh, sorry, Emmy, I keep
Oh,
interrupting. But please go ahead.
I think Francesca wanted to give her 2 cents, so I'm going to give her a chance to share.
Beautiful.
oh, thank you. I just was excited to hop in because I honestly, as an influencer, have who pays attention to what's happening in the influencer marketing side behind the scenes. I kind of saw this coming last year, and I actually made a video predicting it in January. Not specifically the term de-influencing, but I could feel that brands were really strongly shifting towards this ROI in the form of conversions. And while on one hand, I understand that you want to drive sales, putting that pressure onto influencers and having an influencer's income not only now rely on creating quality content, educating your audience, which is what they followed you for, but also trying to get them to buy. If you have an entire industry of influencers who are pushing you to buy because they feel that pressure to drive sales, I just knew it was a matter of time. I just didn't think it would be that quickly where consumers would start to really push back and feel that fatigue. So yeah, kind of like you all, I'm not necessarily surprised. Like, I think we kind of saw it coming, but it's just pretty wild that it became a trend so fast.
Totally. And I just wanted to give some background to the Michaela situation because I think some people in the room may not know what happened exactly and why we're kind of tying de-influencing to what happened with Michaela's scandal. But if you're not familiar, Michaela, I think it's Neguera or Noriega. She's a massive beauty creator on TikTok, and she recently did a campaign with L'Oreal. They have it's their telescopic lash mascara she was promoting. And while doing this campaign, it became very clear to people that one, this was a paid partnership that wasn't disclosed, and two, she was actually wearing demi wispy lashes. So she was very just dramatic in terms of her results with this mascara. Like, oh my gosh, like this mascara looks like I'm wearing fake lashes. And ironically, she actually was wearing fake lashes, and it stirred up the internet and stirred up conversations about influencers being more honest, and then this conversation of de-influencing started to erupt even larger. I know some people were talking about de-influencing prior to, but I think it did just magnify that movement in a sense of, oh my gosh, all these influencers are lying to you. Here are all the things that I'm going to de-influence you to buy because they've been lying to you about these products. And so I think that that kind of like really started everything. And that scandal, hashtag Lashgate, is probably the cause of a lot of this.
Okay, thank you for adding that additional context. I think that was very helpful and also a natural transition into my next question. So, how do you all feel that de influencing kind of holds creators and influencers accountable for the content they create, knowing that people are paying attention to, authenticity, if they're being honest, having those honest reviews? And then for the marketers on this panel, how does it hold brands and marketers accountable as well?
So I'm just going to hop in and say I think it's making influencers a little bit more aware of the partnerships that they're taking on. Even like me, for example, I obviously only work with brands that I love, but even lately, like I only want to work with brands that I'm like obsessed with. There are brands that I love, but I want to work with brands that I wear every single day and I'm dying to market them because it does feel like it's super organic to my audience. And I feel like I'm taking a step back from my business to where I'm not interested in doing 10 campaigns a month. Like I want to do 2 really good campaigns and I want to work with a brand that's like my dream brand, and like that's how I want to make my workflow go this year, because last year was just a little bit crazy, and I think this whole de-influencing movement has just put everything into perspective for me. Even as a creator who like genuinely shares things that I love, I still only want to I want to push the best of the best, especially if you're spending your own hard money on this. I don't want to give you something that I'm not obsessed with.
For me, I'm gonna jump in here. As a consumer of social media, I actually enjoy de-influencing because I feel like it comes with like this sort of social responsibility style of influencing. It was, I think, during the pandemic when, affiliate marketing took off, specifically with Amazon. Everyone's purchasing, everyone's creating videos on products that you need and things that are must-haves, keywords like this product changed my life or this is my holy grail. So creators were using very strong language around certain products that of course were never, life changing to begin with. But again, like as a consumer of social media, I think it did create like this sense of social responsibility and saying that, hey, everything that is put out there isn't necessary for you to buy. So again, like for example, with the Stanley Cups, this is a $40 tumbler, so everyone kind of created content around this, like you need this cup, and created like a sense of FOMO in a way, where if you didn't have this cup, you were missing out on something. When you have, great quality $15 tumblers in your cabinet. So I think again, it creates a sense of social responsibility, especially with the economy that we're in. Prices of everything is going up. So I think again, back to that authenticity portion, that it's that influencer's responsibility to be as authentic as possible, understanding your audience, understanding or just knowing how to read the room, honestly, that you don't need a product that's $40 when you can get great quality content. I'm sorry, you get great quality products for a lot cheaper. So again, as a consumer, I love it, but I will say on the as someone that works on the affiliate side of things, it does allow us to be, or it creates a sense of like responsibility on our end as a brand when it comes to more mindful partnerships, making sure that we're vetting our creators and getting them familiar with the brand, making sure that they're authentically speaking on the brand, so that this way this partnership makes sense. So, and again, like every product is not for everyone. So again, it creates a sense of social responsibility on both ends as a consumer, creator, and a marketer.
I want to add to that because I agree with so much of what you're saying, Dominique, about just taking that responsibility of what partnerships that we are taking on as influencers. And on the marketing side of things, I think it's the responsibility of being careful not to tell the influencer what they're expected to say in a partnership. I think it's going back to that originality of leaving room for the influencer to actually share their true and honest thoughts about the product or whatever the case may be. Like, even for myself, I push back a lot on briefs because I think that briefs can sometimes almost make it seem like this is what your content is supposed to say. This is what it has to say. And that's unfair, and it also creates a false narrative for the influencer, and a lot of times actually makes the campaign less successful if we're really talking about conversion. Like, if I can naturally speak to the product in the way that I see fit, and maybe that's me using the product in combination with another product, like, and that's actually going to cause the brand to convert, I would rather do that as an influencer. But sometimes, brands don't allow us that liberty. The one thing I do want to say is, in terms of this conversation of de-influencing and us having social responsibility to remind people that they don't need to buy things, I don't think that's the influencer's responsibility. I think that we're all adults and we know what we need and what we don't need. Like, if I'm watching content, I'm like, "Ooh, that Stanley Cup looks good." Like, it looks good, but I already have a, Slim Modern. By the way, I have the Stanley Cup. I love it. Listen, I'm not taking any Stanley Cup slander, but I'm just saying it is also not my responsibility to remind you what your budget and what your needs and what you have at home is. I think that that is between you, your pocket, and God. That's not between me.
I love that, Emmy. And I think that was actually going to lead into another question about accountability for consumers. Because I think, since we're in this world of influencing, people kind of act like, influencing is this kind of new thing. Like, we've all been watching television ads forever, which is still a form of influencing because at its core, it's advertising and marketing. But what role do you feel like consumers play in this? Do you think they should have their own level of responsibility, or is it always on the influencer or creator to be as transparent or honest as possible?
I personally, and I know everybody is coming from a different place. I, for I guess a while, have been. I guess it hasn't been considered de-influencing, or never really formally used that term, but trying to remind people just within my content as like a sustainability, from an environmental perspective, that like continuing to buy too much and too much excess is never gonna make the planet a better place. So I think it is a little bit difficult when you are following a lot of people, and definitely want to put a lot of responsibility on the consumer as well. But when we see so many influencers and so many people who inspire us, and who we admire, who are constantly receiving new products or buying new things, there is definitely that temptation, or maybe that feeling of like, oh, I'm missing out on this. And I think that's you know a mental shift that we have to take as a very consumerist society. And again, that responsibility shouldn't be exclusively on influencers and content creators, but as we are, wanting to make a more habitable planet, and just like a better future for everyone, I do try to encourage people to not buy things. The most sustainable thing you can buy is the one you don't buy. But that being said, there is always a little bit of a catch-22, given that content creation is like a part-time job for me. So I do have to take partnerships at times. So it's just about finding the balance, I guess.
If I may add, I loved everything that you just said, Sabs. And I think exactly what you said, that it's more than the creator's response or the influencer's responsibility to tell someone not to buy something, but larger than that, kind of being mindful of their hand in promoting like this invisible overconsumption. Every day I get on TikTok and I see creators that will do a get ready with me and open up 10, 15 Amazon boxes. And while I don't think that there's anything wrong with doing a get ready with me, influencing certain clothing items, maybe talking about clothing items that they like, I think it's important to realize like the impact that showing having all of those items at once tends to have on consumer audience.
I would love to add to that because I feel very, I feel the same in a way, even though I create beauty content, I create a lot of skincare content. It can kind of take a toll even on like my mental health sometimes when I'm constantly seeing influencers buy things every single time because I'm like, do I need this new like Mario foundation? No, I don't, because I literally have a MAC foundation, a NARS foundation, like an Urban Decay foundation, and I know that most of the people that follow me are, teenagers, and like it is what it is, 13-year-olds to 25-year-olds. And I think it's important. Like, I know it's not just the influencer's responsibility, but at some point, like, we do have to take some accountability for the message that we are sending out, especially to this like generation that's out there. And I do think there's something wrong with like wanting to jump to like review the first thing that's like coming out, right? Like there's a way to create content without constantly having to buy something new. And I think influencers should maybe reconsider the way that they're looking at content and maybe reframe the way that they're creating content. And there can be a balance. It doesn't mean you can't buy yourself something new. It just means that you don't need 10, pink blushes.
I would love to piggyback off of that and say I agree. I think honestly that it's a little bit of everyone's responsibility. It's up to the consumer to exercise a little bit more critical thinking and to ask themselves how authentic is this influencer being and to make that decision for themselves. But then also I think it's on the industry to be careful about, kind of like I was saying earlier, putting too much pressure on influencers to drive sales, because then I think that's what leads to inauthenticity, I'm sorry, with influencers, because they feel this pressure that not only do I have to inspire you and educate you, but I have to actually get you to buy this by the end of this video, or else I may not be able to work with the brand again. And I think that that's something that is really important to consider. And even me personally, I always like taking the approach of just sharing with my audience. Even, for example, I did a partnership with Kohl's/Sephora, and it was about red lipsticks. And I didn't try to force people to buy everything per se, but I just showed them 5 different lipsticks that work for my skin tone. Here's one for every day, here's one for at night. And then the goal, in my opinion, was for them to make the decision for themselves. If there was one in particular that they felt would work for them, then they could buy it or not. And Kohl's then took that and they whitelisted it, which I thought was great, which I also love in partnerships, because that took the pressure off of me from trying to also, again, like do all the heavy lifting myself as a creator. And Kohl's can go and push that and use their marketing tactics to try to drive sales using the ad on their own end. So I think I really do think it's a little bit of everyone's responsibility.
And one thing I want to kind of go back to, and I think it was Sabs and Melissa that kind of mentioned it, this idea that de-influencing kind of discourages overconsumption or gets consumers to kind of rethink their product purchases. Do you guys think that de-influencing is something that actually promotes sustainability, or do you feel like it's just kind of a ongoing trend, seeing as how many have already said that de-influencing is still influencing?
I would like to hope that it is promoting sustainability in a way. I know that de-influencing is kind of still seen as influencing because at the end of the day, you're still influencing somebody to buy something, even if it's like the higher quality option. But I do think that the long-term goal of it is for you to only have like that one thing that you love and that you need. Like, I don't buy Lululemon dupes. I will not be that Amazon girly who is constantly promoting Amazon clothes. Like, I refuse because I'm quality over quantity. And I do think if I'm like, well, you shouldn't buy an Amazon dupe because your Lululemons will last you forever. And they have an amazing policy where they just change out your leggings if you get a hole in them. Like, they're going to last you for years and years. And so I'm going to get you to buy Lululemon, but simultaneously, you won't need to buy leggings like every 3 months because, they're like peeling or something.
I'm going to say that while many people hope that the de-influencing trend is going to lead to more sustainability, I can't say that that's a guarantee. I think that it will make things a little bit more leveled out. But what I do believe the de-influencing trend is actually providing more strength to is actually the influencer marketing industry as a whole. I think that we're returning back to where voices are actually valued because they're allowed to talk about the negative and the positive. And I also think something that's really important to note as well is that just because an influencer is promoting a certain item that maybe someone else didn't have a good experience with doesn't mean that they're inauthentic. We all have different experiences with different products. Like I know for myself, there are some products that I absolutely love because I'm a dry skin girly. And, other people will be like, oh, this product is horrible. But I'm like, no, actually, that product is amazing for me because of my skin type. And so I think it's just allowing us to have more nuance in influencing, and also just leaving room for also brands to realize, give your creators room to really give their true authentic feelings about your product, your service, or whatever it is in your campaign. It will make it that much more powerful by allowing that to happen. I think my dog agrees.
I agree with. Oh, sorry. I just want to say I agree with everything that you just said, and in terms of like the sustainability of de-influencing, I am very hesitant to like believe that it's going to be a long-term thing, because the reality is if it is just a trend, as many things tend to be nowadays, then it probably won't have much of an impact, if any. And then in terms of like brands trusting influencers to make the best decisions, I completely agree. And I've definitely had campaigns before where brands are trying to get me to like use XYZ as my cover image, even though I know that it looks like an ad and doesn't look like native content. And, it I think brands could do a better job of trusting the content creators that they work with, because we are the own experts of our own audience. And so for a brand to just come in and obviously, they appreciate us to a certain extent and, having done whatever research they've done on us, there needs to be that level of trust and like knowing that we know what's going to work well and what doesn't. And that, flows into the authenticity of the products that we do promote.
Yeah. And I was gonna add, like, whether it is a trend or not, I feel like the biggest benefit right now is that de-influencing is allowing the creator economy to reset in a way. It's allowing us to stop and pause and saying, hey, maybe we're getting off track a bit. Maybe content, um, all of this like selling on TikTok, because we know why people love TikTok, and we know why TikTok, I'm a little biased, is a bit better than Instagram. It's because of the authenticity of the platform. And Instagram became so heavy with influencers selling stuff to us that that's what kind of drove traffic over to TikTok. So it allowed us to reset and say, hey, let's remember the authenticity piece of this platform. And again, it allowed, creators to make sure that they're speaking authentically of products that they use and products that they will suggest. It allowed brands to not just always work with any creator because of the numbers that, or the number of eyes that the creator has on their platform, but, again, taking the time to build a relationship with that influencer so that they have the chance to, authentically get to know your product. I feel like brands could, add in like sending samples to your creators or potential creators that you want to build long-term partnerships with, because it allows them to, again, build kind of rapport with your brands in a way to where their audience has seen this product before. Their audience is familiar that, oh, hey, she uses this often. I've seen this product posted in her content before. So again, whether it's a trend or not, it truly allowed us to reset and remember the point of the platform.
Beautiful. And one thing I kind of want to do is switch gears a little bit, because I know some of you on the panel have mentioned that a lot of this content is coming from the beauty industry, or at least that's what it seems like. I'm not sure if it originated with there. I think based on what you guys told me about Michaela, I believe that was her name. It sounded like she was a beauty influencer. So it sounds like this de-influencing trend kind of originated in the beauty influencer space. But do you guys see this kind of translating to other industries? And if so, what does that content look like? Or from a creator's perspective, from a marketer's perspective, what kind of content creators should marketers kind of be tapping into?
I feel like the only other industries that I have personally seen this happening in is either the fashion industry, or I'm even seeing like maybe the health and wellness industry. Like I've been seeing a lot of people throwing jabs at like different areas of the health and wellness industry and like the fashion world. And I think mostly it's because, well, I think it's mostly beauty because the beauty industry has one of the highest budgets in terms of influencer marketing, because it is targeted towards women and women are some of the highest consumers. Unfortunately, we all love to shop. But those are the three markets that I've seen it in.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Melissa just said in terms of it mainly being in the beauty space. But I think what's interesting is that most other industries have not veered this far into like viral products, like in the way that beauty and fashion have. Once again, because of women being really interested in consuming, but also products are, you know, are targeted towards women and their insecurities. And so I think it's easier for them to want to try the next thing and want to try to consume the next thing. I think in the tech space, like there has always been this like real approach to influencing where people review things and share the good and the bad things or the pros and the cons, the specs and this and the other. And if we remember back in like the early 2000s, like the YouTube girlies who were doing beauty, that's the way that they were doing beauty. And so that's why I feel like we are resetting where we're allowing for products and for experiences to actually have nuance and not everything needs to be 100% positive. I'm allowed to share that I like this product when it's summertime, but I hate it when it's wintertime. I'm able to allow you to have that nuance. And I think that that's where we're getting back to in the beauty space because it shifted so far left where every product was the best thing ever. And for some people, that wasn't their experience. And so it's allowing a little bit more nuance and allowing a little bit more context to sharing about different products as an influencer, and for consumers to also be able to respect that nuance while still understanding that an influencer may like a product, but they may have some level of like, oh, this is why I like it on in this season or at this time, whatever the case may be. But I think all other industries have not veered as far left on the spectrum as beauty and fashion have.
I can only speak mostly on the consumer end, but my headphones recently broke, and the amount of anxiety that it caused me to try and find a new pair of headphones was very intense. I looked everywhere on TikTok, and everyone will tell me that every single pair of headphones is the best pair of headphones. It's so perfect, the sound is great, doesn't matter the cost, where it came from. And I would go on different sites and look at real reviews, and they were telling me a different story. And I feel like it really translates to a lot of other products for me. As a consumer, I just feel very anxious when it comes to buying products because I don't know who I can trust. And I am very excited that this trend might bring about um, more honesty and accountability with a lot of influencers.
I think it's interesting that you note that on TikTok, everyone had nothing but glowing reviews. And then by Googling and going to actual websites, you were able to find the honest truth. Because I think, and I wonder actually, that kind of sparked a question in my own mind if maybe this could potentially lead back to blogs making a comeback. Because I feel like blogs have managed to maintain that authenticity because a lot of us who are still blogging, I still maintain my blog as well, are allowed to have talk about products with that nuance because it's rare that there's a brand sponsoring a post, or if a brand is sponsoring a blog post, the blog post has to be so in detail that you have no choice but to speak more honestly as opposed to just being like, this is the best product ever, the end. So that's pretty interesting that you say that, and I hope that that's something that will be considered as well as like bringing blogging back and websites, and maybe consumers will, as they do deeper research, will notice that as well.
As someone in the affiliate space, contracting influencers, I will definitely agree with you and say that blogs are coming back because they are just top converting. As far as like, SEO, people searching on Google for, headphone suggestions like you, Hannah, and, including those affiliate links, you getting more detailed in your review and not just giving generic, oh, this is great, feedback. And I think this also will be helpful for a lot of marketers because this is like real-time social listening. You're getting like direct feedback, the pros and the cons of products, and that'll help you with your strategy. So okay, this product was not for this creator and this creator's audience. So it'll help you in many ways as a marketer as well. So agreeing with you that blogs are definitely coming back, that long form content where we're getting detailed with products is really gonna make a boom.
I love that y'all started talking about blogs because I feel like blogs will always be the like iconic channel for just content creation. Like I look at blogs as like the original content, so I'm happy y'all mentioned that. But it did kind of spark this question around, do we think because video format is like what is popping right now, and the way that we know consumers' attention spans are very short, so you have to like create these like really witty, interesting, engaging videos in like a minute or less. Do you feel like that kind of has an impact on what people say in these videos or how they're talking about the products or services that they're promoting, and why that kind of leads to oftentimes just purely glowing reviews?
Yeah, I will say like, especially with TikTok, it's always about the aesthetic. It's about how, how many great angles, how many great shots we can get, making it stellar. And again, I think to my point that I made earlier, this de-influencing allowed us to reset. It's like it's not always about the aesthetic. It's about, people have started using TikTok as, a replacement for Google in a way. So it allowed people for a long time to only, broadcast the aesthetics and all the good things about the product. But the more that we can get into, being authentic and again resetting to say, hey, this product is not for everyone, I think we'll make good transition into that. But again, I think the visual is everything with blogs. You get your images, your pretty pictures that you can post and throw in there. But people want to see real, they want to see the raw. So yeah, aesthetics is what's really been causing that shift in authenticity.
I agree, and I think that if we can put some of the responsibility on brands and partners, just because for particular products, things like skincare and other, I guess, household lifestyle products, sometimes you need time to like actually test the product out and use it. But a lot of brands will reach out last minute, or they will have like a really crunchy deadline. So you don't even have much of time even to try the product out and make sure that it works for you. So I think that is, if anything, something that brands could do a lot better, is just give more lead time and be honest and upfront, and provide that space for content creators to actually use the product to see if it's something that they enjoy and appreciate, and that will help them provide the most authentic review possible for their audience, which is the goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I agree with that point of giving the creators time to use the product. That's why I was like, if you're looking to partner with creators or get creators on your roster as maybe an ambassadorship type of program, start sending them products to test out and try and get used to well in advance and what you want them to post that content. Again, because I've been in situations where I've, reached out to creators and they didn't really have that much time to get themselves familiar with the product. So again, I will say it is marketers' responsibility to make sure that you're nourishing that relationship to where you're giving them time to understand your brand and be as authentic as possible in that way, because they actually got to use it and be and share their authentic perspective.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dominique. So, knowing that we have about 15 minutes left, I do want to open up the conversation to anyone listening, so our attendees. If anyone in the audience wants to ask our speakers a question or kind of just share your own insights about de influencing, please feel free to tap the hand raise icon in the bottom right corner of your screen and I will pull you up. Otherwise, we can keep asking the panelists a few more questions, but I want to give time for y'all. Okay, no questions so far. So I'll go back to another one of the questions that I had. What impact do you guys think de-influencing can have on marketers, particularly when building out influencer marketing strategies or campaigns?
My hope, ideally, is that it makes brands and marketers be a lot more strategic with their outreach, do more research, just because I have definitely had experiences where brands don't really respect me as a creator. And I know a lot of other creators who've had that experience just because like their goal is to have, I guess, as many creators as they can based on what their budget is versus really nurturing a relationship with, the content creators that they are working with. So nurturing that relationship, which will hopefully then lead to better relationships, and more authentic experiences with those products, will hopefully be an outcome from this trend.
For me, it will probably be more community engagement and management. So having a community with your creators, with your ambassadors, doing a lot of social listening, getting feedback. One thing that I like to do with my recap reports after I wrap up a campaign is to, listen to some audience sentiment, get their real-time feedback on how they feel about the content that was posted, about the product, and specifically how the influencer felt that their audience resonated. So a lot more community, management with their creators within their partnerships.
One of my hopes is that with this, that marketers will also consider continuing to work with diverse influencers and to consider other factors besides just metrics to make sure that you're giving opportunities to different types of creators, because I think also something that's allowed de-influencing to bubble up so quickly is that people are also getting fatigued from seeing the same type of person promote products or the same type of products over and over. And there was kind of this obsession with Gen Z, and then you have the lack of diversity, and you have all these things that are leading to more of like just seeing the same type of person over and over. And then again, like we were saying, aesthetics play a big part. And I think if marketers are not careful and if they don't reel it back in terms of continuing to work with diverse creators, that they're going to see more backlash, and it's going to come a lot more quickly because people are just already fatigued from either not seeing themselves represented or from constantly seeing the same type of person pushing products all the time.
I would love to add to that in a different way, kind of. I hope this de-influencing movement also inspires companies to bring in diversity onto their own teams, not just like the influencers that they're hiring. I saw this really good TikTok video the other day where they were like, everyone's For You page looks so different. And so, like, as a Latina, like, I have so many Latinx creators on my For You page, but when I go on my husband's For You page, it looks completely different. And I do think that the people behind your brand are going to be picking these influencers. And sometimes a lot of it is like you're only getting a certain kind of influencer on your feed. And that's why you're constantly seeing so many of these same faces on brand trips. Like if I see one more brand trip with the same 10 girls, I'm probably going to scream because I'm tired of it. I want to see different girls. So something little, just adding that to the conversation.
Amen.
No, I'm definitely aligned with that, Mel. I'm glad you said that. Because it kind of just made me think of like my own experiences on brand, kind of working with influencers and high-end creators. And honestly, if it's like if there isn't someone in the room who is actively advocating to have more diverse campaigns, it's just simply not going to happen. So one thing I would definitely challenge for any marketers, or people that work in advertising on this call, is to really think outside of your own interests, which can be a stretch for some people, but it's just something that you have to do in order to have a successful campaign and bring more creators and influencers into your community. You know, and that starts by just like asking people, like, if you are the decision maker, ask people who do not look like you, who do not have similar interests as you, and then always keep intersectionality at top of mind. Just know that, like, for example, I am Black, but I have a variety of interests. I'm also Black and queer, and there are other people who are quite different from me. So it's just something to think about. Like, it doesn't really take that much effort. One thing I do never want to hear again is a influencer marketing manager say we couldn't find them, because you're lying, and that's just what it comes down to. um, I think someone was raising their hands in the audience. I don't know if they're still there, but oh, I see you, Valerie. Okay, I'm gonna pull you up. Okay, just kidding. I'm pulling up Lakeisha and Kelly.
Happy Thankful Thursday, everyone. This is Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi,
Welcome.
Kelly.
Thank you so much. If you all had one tagline or one message that you wanted folks to walk away with from today's session, what would it?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Do you want to go first, or? I think for
Sure.
me,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Dominique. No, you go first. Go.
Just a personal note is just always be mindful of the content that you're consuming. As a social consumer, as a content creator, and as a brand, just always be mindful and intentional with the content that you're consuming. Again, everything is not for you, um, and finding that creator that audience that is for you, and just being authentic within yourself. So again, just be intentional about what you're consuming.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because I was about to say mindfulness. Be mindful as a consumer, as someone who is just looking at content, creating content, and really just, oh my gosh, there's cars outside. And really just asking yourself, like, what do I want to put out into the world, and what kind of effect is this going to have? I think is a really big one for me.
I kind of have two, one coming from a creator's perspective and one coming from a marketer's perspective. Um, I think the first and probably the most important one would be that authenticity is influential. Um, and the second being that something influential doesn't mean that you have to be influenced. And just giving, nuance and giving context to, as a marketer, knowing that allowing our creators to be authentic is the way that they're going to be most influential for our brands. And as consumers, as creators, just because we see an influential piece of content or something that is, deeming to be the next influential product, the next thing, doesn't mean that you have to be influenced by it. So just be mindful of that.
Beautiful. Thank y'all. I'm going to pass it over to Lakeisha now. Kelly, thank you for your question. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Um, I have a question, but it's really loaded, FYI. The conversation so far has been just really eye-opening, but it also was revealing to me in the sense that I come from a generation where commercials were the social media, right? And you didn't have choice, obviously. Advertisers were able to buy their spots, and whatever you were watching, you saw whatever came on the screen. Fast forwarding to now, where social media is the new television, and there's this idea that brands and or marketers who come from that same, most of them still come from that same time frame. They're approaching it as though they've just found a cheaper way to do a commercial. They're not looking at it from a space of authenticity and all of these things that they never had to look for when they went to talent agencies and had people stand in line to audition for their commercials. You didn't have to be attached to the product. You didn't have to like it. You just needed to act very well. And then a lot of times the separation, I think, of not knowing the people on television versus how now with social media help, we feel a little more connected. We feel a little more like this person, I really do know them. They're using their real name, or some form of it, and they're not just a stranger that we don't have to feel like owes us responsibility of, do you really feel this way? Are you really into this product like this? So my question is, do you think that there is a reset that is probably going to have to happen with the people who make up the advertiser space, the people who make up the marketer space, almost like some of the other social issues we have where it's almost like certain people have to die off or something for us to finally get to a point of some level setting? Because otherwise we're just I feel preaching to a choir, talking amongst ourselves. We know the ethical issues involved with this, but I don't know that the advertisers care because they just see it now as this one big conglomerate of a talent agency or a talent pool that they just pull from to do their commercials. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Um, I'm gonna hop in real quick. I'm so sorry for interrupting. As someone who does come from the social side of things and the agency side of things, I completely 100% agree with you. And one thing I will say is that no matter how many decision makers are trying to push the narrative and trying to twist social into recreating, the world of TV productions and scripts, that culture will always win. And it's really amazing that social has given us the tools to fight back. So TV was a one-way communication systems for a lot of us when it came to marketing, but social gives us the power to be interactive and push back against these trends. So even if there are brands, well, not if there are, there are brands, there are decision makers on both brands and agency sides that are still in that TV marketing talent pool mindset. But what they don't realize is, as I said, culture will win at the end of the day. And the more they try to stick to the old, the more they will die off as businesses. So
Agreeing
this is
with
my
you. Oh, sorry. But I just wanted to agree because, to your point, Lakeisha, back when commercials were the thing, you couldn't see the number of people, when the commercial came on, how many people walked away from their TV screen or changed the channel. But today in social media, numbers don't lie. So, and especially when you can see the numbers, you can see how, people's audiences are commenting and giving feedback. They have no choice but to pivot and make this change in the industry. So agreed that it's going to take leadership to kind of, shift out for that to come up as a thing. But definitely, like with numbers and data being such powerful storytellers when it comes to this industry, I definitely do feel like they have to shift eventually.
I agree, and I just want to add that I think change from within is a really powerful opportunity for people. So I've definitely heard, like, after doing ads, people who have messaged me and been like, oh, I didn't love this, or oh, I didn't love that. And then I'm able to bring that to the brand. So we all can be advocates, I guess, from the bottom up to a certain extent. I mean, at the end of the day, it's definitely going to need to be a huge shift from the top as well. But that's not to say that we don't have our own autonomy and we can't use our voices in order to build change as much as possible.
Sabs, I really wanted to just say that I love that comment. I'm all about the inner and self growth and different things of that nature. All has an outward output for changing the world, just one person at a time. So I love that perspective. Thank you. Thank you so much for your question, Lakeisha. We don't have time for more questions, Taylor, but sorry, I know you got to add your 2 cents, but is there anything that you want to share additionally?
Yeah, I just really quick, I think just to really just summarize everything that we're saying is that de-influencing is a really great opportunity to finally force brands to realize brand-centric content will not work in the world of social. And you need to start pivoting your content strategies to things that add values and help creators create. So that's pretty much it. But lovely to hear from you all. Lovely to, speak with you all. And I'm going to mute now. Bye.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Perfect. Well, all right, y'all. I want to thank everyone for joining this conversation, especially the panelists. I am so grateful for your insights and knowledge. I honestly feel like I'm coming out of this with a lot more knowledge that I didn't know I actually needed. So, love that for me on a personal note. But I really want to thank you all and thank everyone who listened in, especially those that asked questions as well. But to wrap this up, the next episode of Creator Tea Talk will be on Thursday, March 23rd. I don't actually know what the episode is going to be about because I haven't planned it yet. That's the real tea. But stay tuned because in the meantime, you can follow me at Jedi Powell on all channels or follow the Creator Tea Talk hashtag for updates. And just know that the replay of this specific episode will go live on YouTube early next week. So until then, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And again, thank you to our panelists and everyone that asked questions. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Much, Jade.